Hey guys, we're back with more insights from PaiBox. We're talking to our CEO, Sherry Lee. And today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into technology in the property management world. Sherry, what can current property management software do? Mm-hmm. And where are the gaps? Like, where have you guys seen opportunities to basically deliver services and features that are not available today?
Mm-hmm. I think the current property management software, a lot of them can do a lot, such as storing information, manually update the status, and trying to track the status. But I think the real world is more complicated. It's always like multiple people communication, hiccups and delays happening. So I think majority of the time actually spent from our property managers are those things. It's not like never a linear workflow.
Yeah.
So that's basically if the workflow doesn't take care of the 80% of the time is where the delay happens, where the vendor never responded to you, and your tenant got angry, and your owner basically miscommunication, and your profit margin will collapse.
Yeah. And so it's sort of like, if I'm hearing you, like there are property management softwares out there, but they're more like keeping a record of things that need to be done. Like the way I think about it is like the difference between a to-do list and like an AI agent that can go out and actually do stuff, right? So like in my personal life, if I had like, shop for a birthday present for my wife and like plan a trip or like,
like a journal entry.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a to-do list. That's great. Mm-hmm. Keeps me organized to know what I'm doing. That's not the same as going out and doing those things, right? So, basically where PaiBox is coming in is that it can actually go out and do all of the work that's needed to get that property rehabbed or get that repair done. Is that a fair summary?
Totally, because AI agent cannot just receive information or store information, but they can proactively reaching out to people, follow-ups and tracking on the status updates and chasing information, and making sure that the information and communication is complete. Yeah. So that's what I think PaiBox has the opportunity to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and I would encourage everybody to check out a demo of PaiBox. It's really impressive, right? But like the way, you think about like, okay, we have this request that's come in, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. What PaiBox can then do to go, let's match to vendors. Let's go find vendors if we don't have them. Proactive outreach, gather quotes, bring it back, show those to the property manager, and then once you select a vendor, the stakeholder communication with everybody, making sure all the job gets done and followed up. Like these are all things that when you talk to property managers, they're like, yeah, that's what takes up most of my time.
Yeah.
It's not staying organized that I have a repair to be done. It's all those steps that I have to do myself today to actually get the repair done.
Right. In order to, complete these purposes, we need a two-sided property management software, which is not just the focus on property manager or vendor, but we build a platform that unified all the communication into one synchronized platform.
Yeah.
So that's where property manager can track all the status updates from the vendor side, and the vendor can basically also using PaiBox Pro to accept the order and provide quotes and negotiation with the owner and property manager, basically based on the approved scope of work to generate invoices automatically.
Yeah.
And you don't have to deal with a lot of administration work, saving your time just focusing on work itself rather than sending photos, sending update to your property manager, keep them aware. All of that taking out of your time.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great point. I'm so glad you mentioned that two-sided part of PaiBox as well, because we've been talking a lot about the property managers and like that's where you come from, your background, and you're building those to solve that. But like PaiBox is really also designed to be super friendly and easy to use for the vendors, right? Because you got to treat the venders well. These are the people that you need. These guys. Yeah, we serve both sides, right? Can you just speak a little bit to like how important the vendors are? The tradespeople and the contractors, and you touched on it a little bit, but just maybe speak to like how we've tried to make it so easy for them, seamless experience for them as well, right? So that they want to work with PaiBox enabled property managers.
Yeah, so I think that's really important for both sides, because if your property manager can make vendors' job easier,
Yeah.
that's preferred property manager they
Yeah.
can work with, because there are shortage of laborers, and the good vendors always have the jobs to do, and in order for them to keep the momentum, you're gonna work more efficient and organized way.
Yeah.
So vendors that I see today, they spend a lot of time taking care of the machine work, receiving the orders and sending photos from the phone until back to the home to send as attachment with the invoices. And usually invoices has to be done after, maybe 2 weeks after the job is done. So
Yeah.
the property manager never got to know when the job's done. So the lack of a track. So synchronize the workflow is basically whatever happens, everybody on this platform knows.
Yeah.
Multiple stakeholders from the tenant, visibilities of when the vendor arrives, the owner's financial visibilities of how good the return is. And the property managers understand when the job is finished, when the job starts, how satisfied the tenant is. So every single stakeholder are synchronized in a unified workflow.
Yeah. That makes it basically making everybody's life easier in this workflow, right? Easy communication, get easier quoting, get paid faster, etc. Just by having better communication that's automated, right?
Right.
That's awesome. Maybe a good thing to build on top of that last question, right? What is agentic AI, like what does it mean in the context of property management, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is it different from basic automation?
Mm-hmm. So I think a basic automation is doesn't navigate into uncertainties. But as we know that workflow for property management is never linear.
Yeah.
That means a lot of uncertainties and human dependencies. So for every single scenarios, AI agents' advantage is to navigate into possibilities and uncertainties based on scenarios and being responsive to situation. For example, if vendor delayed, AI agent can follow up with the deadline, certain tap into the database and looking for status updates. And if tenants in the home, basically AI agents can follow up to schedule another time to visit for both party. And if any issue is coming up, for example, the scope of work extended, because in reality, the work scope never stay the same after the first visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
a great point.
it always you have to renegotiate with the property manager and extend the scope, and back and forth trade the price adjustment.
Yep.
So that can be modified and assisted by the agents, and transparencies for the tenants as well, to be able to keep everybody in the loop.
Got it. So the ability to sort of go out into real world workflows, deal with uncertainty, and then provide sort of almost a quasi sort of human or a coordinator, we talk about like a repair coordinator in this case type of service from an AI. That to you is like agentic. That's how we go. That's really what it means in this context.
That's true. Yeah, it's more proactive. It's more smart in responding to different scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So given that we're talking about agentic AI, obviously that's very important to PaiBox. Where do you think agentic AI will have the biggest impacts on NOI over the next few years in the single family space?
Well, I think the impact is huge. It's impact of NOI and increasing investment returns. Definitely, think about the time savings.
Yeah.
The turnover quickly. How much time, how many days you've finished the repair. It definitely increase the tenant satisfaction, and it lower your turnover.
Yeah.
It increase your retention ratio. And secondly, you save the time of, back and forth delays and communications and, back and forth. So it makes the job finished in early stage.
Yeah.
And early stage means that you can finish the rehab or repairs and then prepare for the next stage of putting on the market, and then you can collect the rent earlier. That's money.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So basically getting these properties rented and occupied faster and keeping tenants happier right? Because that's a part of it too, right? Like the happier the tenants are, like if the repairs get done quickly, if they're done to a high quality with good vendors, there's good communication, that can leave a really positive impression for a tenant, right? That's going to make them want to renew and stay. There's nothing better, right? As an operator, there's nothing better than a good tenant who renews multiple years in a row, because then there's no downtime on your property, right? we've been talking a lot about all the great things that AI can do, right? And like you and I are both like really big proponents of, especially like bringing together expertise of an industry with all the agentic AI advances that are going on right now can have a lot of great impact. But what are some things that humans should never hand over to AI in this industry?
I think that's a really critical question to ask when we think about how we can utilize AI, not just doing something for AI. The purpose is still solving the problem, real life. So from our perspective, we have workflow experiences, a deep understanding of the operations, and then we only apply AI into where we really feel it fits.
Yes.
So when we think about the question, where is the limits edge of the AI is, I think, first of all, AI cannot be the person who can take responsibilities. So when it comes down to critical decision makings and critical communications, establish relationships, critical relationships, that has to be leaning on to humans' decision making. So, because human can be the person put on the spot, is liable for the SLA. And also, secondly, I think transparency of the market prices depends on the demand and supply. The demands are property managers, owners, and the supply will be the vendors. That's human.
Yep.
So we cannot just let AI's intelligence tell people how much you should charge.
Yep.
But we should let them to create a free market.
Yep.
Created by human.
Yeah.
So we're leaning on to vendors provide a quote instead of telling them how much it's supposed to be cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah, I think it's important too to respect the vendors, right? That's a big part of this is like, hey, we want to bring more business to you. We don't want to try and dictate to you how to do your business. And I think the point you made is a really good about the key business decisions. Like I recently saw a slide somebody had put from a internal IBM presentation in 1973 where it said a computer should never make a management decision because a computer can never be held responsible for a decision, right? And so I think what I think is so cool about PaiBox, right, is like, okay, the ultimate choice about if we're going to move forward and make this repair, what vendor quote we're going to select, when are we going to, ensure that the rehab is done and clients are, we can move a tenant back in. Those are all human decisions. And what PaiBox is doing, and the agents are doing, is like, hey, all that really fun stuff where you have to call 10 different people or you have phone and email and text messages going back and forth and oh my God, how do you keep track of it all? Let's let PaiBox do all that stuff, right? Let's do all that stuff. We're not making a decision, but we are doing all the coordination, the actual workflows in the real world. And so I think that's such a good balance of like, where can we add value, but still preserve sort of the humanness of the industry, right? The humanity of it.
Yeah, because the landlord is still going to be human, tenant is going to be human.
Yes.
Yeah, we're serving human.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Awesome. Well, Sherry, thank you so much for all the insights, and thank you to everybody for watching, and stay tuned for more PaiBox insights in the near future. See you soon.